Hey, Suzanne.
Hi, nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too. I guess one thing I've been experiencing on the call is just it just feels like the absence of any like harshness or criticism. Mhm.
Nice.
It's very touching, actually.
Hmm. Yeah, that's sweet to hear.
Yeah. Keep on tearing up, actually.
Yeah, let the tears come.
Yeah.
They're very welcome here.
Mm.
Take your time.
Mm.
Let the body feel exactly the way it does.
I noticed there's like kind of this feeling sitting with you, kind of like, oh, I have to say something. Don't know what though.
Mm. Yeah. You're welcome to not say anything. I don't expect you to say anything. It's okay.
Mm. I guess it kind of makes me wonder, just like how, just curious about just kind of like, relating like simply authentically.
Hmm. Yeah. And if words arise, that's great. If they don't, that's great as well. There's no pressure.
Thank you. I guess another thing that's kind of been showing up for me is um, kind of this frustration or kind of like feeling stuck. Kind of the stories around that. I think like some of it is just kind of feeling like the things like really like happening, like spiritually or moving forward. It just feels like kind of the same, which is sort of like so it's kind of like that feeling from having kind of like a what feels for me kind of like a mental frame for sort of like how it's going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
Mm.
sounds familiar.
Very dissatisfying. I
Yeah, yeah. That's a good way of describing it. It
don't like
is.
it very much.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I remember feeling a lot of boredom and restlessness.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of funny because like never mind. It's like there's this kind of like this feeling of not really being able to like hold on to anything or like make clear judgments about what's going on, and yet that somehow like turns into a judgment.
Mm.
Very very insane. I don't know.
Mm.
All to feel unhappy, I guess. I don't really know.
Hmm. Well, it's the mind is used to like, where's the problem? Like,
Mm.
figure out the problem and then let's try and fix it or do something about it.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I was really relating to some of the things that Bogan just last was saying about that. Um, maybe not exactly in the same way, but
Hmm.
there's like a lot of like bodily tension associated with that.
That makes sense.
Mm.
It's highly uncomfortable. It's the last place that people want to be, understandably, you know?
It's kind of funny. I feel like just in life, like I can't really tell like what I want or like any of that stuff. Um, I keep on like trying to do things that make me feel like awkward or uncomfortable, and maybe that's
Yeah, that's fine. You're kind of like challenging yourself or something.
maybe, I guess. And then sometimes it does feel kind of like there's this it's like that habit of like creating a problem um so that there can be suffering, I guess. It's like very feels like very solid most of the time, but occasionally there's like this intimation that that's not really needed. And I don't know, just kind of like makes me cry. It's like very poignant, I guess.
Yeah, that's beautifully described. I think you're seeing the loop that's going on. That's not in your control.
Mm. The loop.
Yeah. Like finding a problem, trying to fix the problem, but seeing that it's just not really going to work.
I guess that's enough.
Yeah, there's no answer to it.
Mm.
It is pretty much like a closed loop. It's not like there's no exit from that.
Mm. That's funny.
Because it's devastating, or it can be relieving. Like it's not in your hands. It really isn't. And that loop is welcome to continue because you're not in control if it arises or not. But um that's what's seen more and more clearly through this. It's highly uncomfortable. It's not satisfying. You see the loop. Sometimes it's not that clear, but you see something just going on in a hamster wheel. And you feel a lot of boredom and restlessness. And is this actually going anywhere? Um, that all sounds very familiar. I felt very lost. There were bursts of feeling really lost and directionless. And it was like it was the worst feeling in the body. It was like, oh my God, all I can feel is this like intense knot or tightness.
Mm. Yeah, I can really relate to that. I think like I don't know, like when I started, like when somebody told me that I could pay attention to bodily sensations, which had never really occurred to me before then, for some reason. That was like the first thing I noticed.
Mm,
Yeah, and yeah, that's really kind of stuck around. Um, like sometimes it'll just like loosen up, like spontaneously. It's like very fun and beautiful. Um, but yeah, when you talked about it being like, I don't know, maybe you use the word excruciating, but it can feel like that. Just like very singular.
yeah. And it's not a bad thing.
Mm.
And it's also okay to kick and scream and squirm and, try all the things. And there's nothing wrong with trying things. I think it just gets to a point where it's um in a way that's the only direction that this is going. It's not like a known direction. It's more like actually that's all that's here and I can't really get rid of it.
That's funny. Mm. Yeah, I believed like really deeply for some time. Like there's still, I don't know, like there's like some kind of belief going on that that is like wrong. Definitely. Um, um, it can be useful to kind of like offer it tenderness. Seems that way.
Yeah, beautiful.
Wow, that phrase, it's all that's here and it's not going away. That's lovely. Mm.
Yeah, it's actually a very it's an amazing thing to actually get to that point where you're no longer only sucked into the chase. Um this is more prominent. The
Mm,
absolute discomfort of this, and the chase can still arise, but there's no denying that.
mm,
So there's nothing wrong with you, you know? There's nothing wrong with that sense. Everyone has that, but they're avoiding it.
it's kind of relaxing just to hear like, oh, that's relatable. Like, yeah, I can relate to that. Mm.
Mhm. Yeah, it makes you feel like you're not alone. Because I also noticed during this time, it was common that um, people around me were telling me that, yes, there's something wrong with you and you can do something about it. Like, get a new hobby, see more friends, do this, do that. And it hurt more than anything. It was like, this feeling is unavoidable, but you're kind of denying my experience and telling me that there's something wrong with me and that I should be able to fix it. But what I really needed to hear was just, yeah, that makes total sense.
Mm. Yeah, kind of like that way of speaking kind of like reinforces like some of the like there's a lot of like there's still kind of like a lot of harshness towards that feeling.
Yeah, it's very harsh. It's very arrogant. It's very knowing.
Mm. 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 Lovely to have those things named. Yeah, and that phrase you use kind of like at this point I remember um yeah, I don't know, just kind of like nice to hear that this is recognizable, just kind of like the flavor of this for me, or something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Suzanne.
Yeah. Sounds very familiar.
Mm.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Was that it, or there's something else you want to say?
Mm, I think, yeah, just thank you. Like I really, yeah, being here in the group, I feel so much, yeah, just like um, yeah, it's just like an unconditional allowance of whatever's here.
Yeah,
Mm,
beautiful.
yeah, it's very touching. Um, I feel it that way.
Hmm. Oh, thanks so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you again.
Yeah. Hey, Jay.
Hey, Suzanne.
Hi,
Good to
good to
see
see
you.
you.
Oh, my word. It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had a couple questions, and I just to give you what's happening here, sort of a description.
Sure.
You mentioned earlier that on YouTube, it didn't really register the fact that there's nobody here. Is the sense that there isn't anyone anymore around. Did that evolve over time, or was that just a switch where it was just there one day, where you just saw that?
I think it was very gradual.
Oh, okay.
Um, there might have been moments where it was more clear, and then there was a tightness again, and a lot of mental storms or uh, confusion. So it kind of oscillated.
Uh-huh. And
Yeah.
then it sort of, over time, or it gradually sort of just became clearer and clearer. And now it's very stable, and that's just how it's showing up now.
Yeah. Yeah. The clearer it gets here, then it's like you're no longer able to see a person.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. Um, I have a similar, I mean, it's not as pronounced as that, but like when I'm with other people, like if I'm in the grocery store or something with lots of other people, uh, it's like, trying to think about here, I feel a close connection to them, and there's an affinity for all these people, it's like they're very precious, but I see them as just part of what is happening. It's just everything is just happening and unfolding, and they are just, it's actually amazing. It's like a dance, right? Everybody's in the grocery store, and they're doing all this stuff, right? Collecting stuff in their basket, going up and checking out, but it's all automatic, right? And there's a sense they may think they're doing something, but in fact it's like a rainstorm, it's just like just
Mm,
coming down out of the sky. But all these people are in the grocery store getting their stuff and checking out, but it's just happening
nice.
automatically, automatically. Uh, uh, yeah. So my experience is that's sort of my has been my experience over the last several months, that everything is just arising and it's okay. Um, and it's like I still get caught up in thoughts, and I have conditioned patterns that happen, but those are just part of what's happening also. It's just and they're okay. um, and over the last 6 months or so, the patterns have sort of changed. Like I've lost interest in things I used to enjoy doing. It's like it's they don't seem to have any importance anymore. And like I've lost interest in the daily news, right? It just sort of seems like a cartoon of all this stuff that's happening, but it's not. But I still care about. There's a sense of caring what's going to happen in the world. I don't want bad outcomes to happen. And then there's people suffering in the Ukraine, and we have global warming and all these things that are could become a bad outcome. So there's a sense of wanting to have a better outcome, but there's not a sense that I can do anything about that. There's not anything like that. Anyhow, it's sort of weird. Things are changing, um, and um, I it's it's sort of like I have this. I used to sort of be seeking, right? Sort of, I was looking for waking up and everything. Now it's just this process that's just automatically happening. There's nobody that's doing anything. I mean, so I still have a sense of myself, but I don't take it seriously. It's just like, it's just part of what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have this concept that there's sort of this waking up process that can happen without there's nobody doing anything, but it's like a natural phenomenon, like a river flowing downhill or something, right? And it's just doing its thing. Um, and waking up, so to speak, will just occur. But that's just a concept, right? That's just my idea, sort of, about what might be happening. I don't know if it's just, but I was just curious in for you, what was happening. Um, do conditioned habits and patterns and sort of, do they continue to drop away and soften as things unfold over time? Um, just automatically, you're not doing anything, of course, but do things evolve for you?
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, your description was great. Sounds beautiful what's happening. Um, y- yeah, a lot of conditioning has fallen away and it wasn't up to me. It was clear that it was like I have to see. And then it was only in hindsight where I was like, oh, that's gone. That doesn't arise anymore.
Uh-huh.
Um, or the interest or care about that is just gone. Um, Let me think. Yeah, a lot has fallen away. Um, I think the biggest thing that I notice here, the biggest pain here was feeling obligated toward other people. So even if I didn't want to do anything, I would still do it. And then I would either kind of hate myself or not really like the person and really want distance. It would get really complicated. It was a big source of suffering here, the guilt and the shame of saying no. What I've noticed now is like I have no problem with um saying no to almost everything. Like it's because there's nothing needed here. I get nothing out of pleasing people or doing what other people want. If it doesn't satisfy anything here anymore. It's not like I'm being a good person. It's not like I'm scared if they don't like me anymore. It has become so much clearer that it's not necessary and that they will find someone else to use if it's not me, you know? Um, it's become so impersonal. Uh, yeah. And a lot of like music has kind of fallen away. I don't read books. I just can't. There's no interest. Food is used as there's no real pleasure in it. It's just like I'm hungry, I eat. It's not used as a tool to mask boredom or restlessness, which is fine. I did a lot of that before, but it seems like food is just a thing that the body needs for nutrition and that's it, kind of. Um yeah, my relationship to a lot of things have changed because I'm not getting meaning out of it anymore. It's really just the basic function of that thing. So if it's necessary for the body, then it's used, but it's not like over consumed because the body simply doesn't need an excess of anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see. That's evolved over time. That's sort of gradually, um,
Yeah, it was very gradual.
yeah,
Because there were moments where food was used for comfort and there was no judgment about it. It was like the body's going through something really difficult. Like it needs comfort in certain ways. Um, yeah, yeah.
hmm, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, for me, I notice like with food or with other sensory input. Like if I'm walking in the woods, there's if I'm just really immersed in what's happening. Uh, there's a tremendous sense of beauty and wonder and all the little details of the leaves and the wind on my face, and there's just a lot the direct connection of what it is. And if I'm eating something, the taste and the smell, there's just sort of a delicious beauty to it. It's not like I'm trying to avoid something else by eating, like discomfort or something. It's just a relishing or sort of just a direct awareness of what is beautiful there. And does that fade away after a while? It's like everything's just like gray goo.
It's not gray goo. It's um yeah, there was kind of this extra oomph to things, like a beauty and a deliciousness to things. Um, and I think that's beautiful, but it does diminish because it's still like you're still getting something out of it. Here it feels like there's just not no getting satisfaction in the old
I see.
ways. But what is more clear is it's impossible to describe or to even put a name to it. It's just like kind of makes no sense anymore. But the amount of contempt, just feeling okay or feeling content with this is like unbelievable. That's why nothing else matters. Nothing else, you get no pleasure out of anything else. It's just it's become so empty. Um it was alarming for a little bit and kind of a shame, but yeah, I wouldn't trade this for any of those little pleasures now. It's just like, oh, it feels like more freedom actually. Like I don't need that stuff.
I see. Yeah. For me, there's this underlying sense of sort of peace and equanimity that's always there, even though I may have uncomfortable emotions arising and or pain. Like I had a leg injury recently, and there was pain, but that was just part of what was happening, and it was like there was this okayness with it. It was fine, and it sounds like maybe that's sort of part of what you're talking about there. I'm not sure. But there's an underlying um, sense of perfectness or something, or okayness with whatever is here right now.
Mm.
Yeah, and that'll evolve. But for me, when I'm doing things, people might ask me to do, like my wife will ask me to do something, and for me, I look at it, and if it's something, or somebody else might ask me to do something, if it's something I think will be helpful, then I mean, I enjoy doing it. It seems like it's a pleasure to do that. But it's not, it's just part of what's happening. It's not something I feel I need to do. I could not do it, but it seems like it's the right thing to do is to do it. So I do it, and it seems there's a desire, or there's a sort of a background feeling of wanting to sort of connect with doing things that are helpful, that are helpful to me and other people and the world, and in taking actions that will be helpful in the long run, whatever that might be. But it's not like I'm trying to do that. It's just that when choices come up, that's the direction that I want to tune into automatically, because I still have conditioned patterns and ego things that come up, and just being aware of those and just dropping those, or saying, oh, that's just an ego thing or whatever. And then it sort of fades out, it doesn't really stick, so to speak. But that's just sort of, again, that's more of a concept and an idea of orientation, trying to connect with things, but that's just part of what's happening. So it doesn't
Yeah,
really matter.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I almost don't want to say what happens because it doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
What you
Yeah.
described is perfectly beautiful. Um,
Yeah. I mean, whatever's happening is just happening, and will continue. And there's no control in any fashion. It's just
exactly.
holding. And, you know, we'll see what happens.
hmm
uh,
Yeah. I mean, uh I was kind of surprised how much more falls away. I thought that it was just like a lot of things are falling away. Every month I'm like, holy shit, another like more has fallen away. And every month I was saying that. Um yeah, but there were these base, I don't even know if it was concepts. Maybe it was like really fundamental concepts, fundamental ideas of how a person should be.
hmm
And it still had flavors of being like the good girl, the good spiritual person, being compassionate, things like that. And I was surprised that that was simply a concept.
Right.
It's just a way of being. It's just someone telling you that you're gonna be compassionate if this happens, or this is how you would appear, or um it's just all ideas. It's made up. uh and then that became a lot more clear, and care only arose when it arose. I didn't dictate it anymore, and that was quite different than having a foundational idea that I am compassionate and this leads to compassion and I'm helping the world, and uh, I'm getting some meaning out of it.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
felt like when that popped, it's like it's so much more simple. It's like care just arises when it arises.
hmm
And that's it. You don't have to try to be a compassionate person, which is actually a lot of burden.
Yeah. Right. Right. And that was just a spontaneous dropping away and softening over time, and to continue. It sounds like it's a continual process that just happens, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
thank you so much, Suzanne, for doing this and doing these meetings, and I hope you continue, and I hope uh, that
Yeah.
it's been very, very great. Yeah, you're
Mm.
very, very genuine, authentic, and your space is very open and welcoming of anything. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks so much, Jake. Sounds wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Eleanor.
Hey, Suzanne.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, nice to see
Okay,
you.
perfect. Good to see you. I've been following you for some time, but this is my first time in one of these meetings. And I never, ever speak up in settings like this because I'm terrified. Um, I tend to, in settings like this, I tend to like dissociate, like just kind of lose sense of everything. Um, and I also lose track of what I want to say. I lose track of words. Um, there's this voice or kind of internal narrative that tells me that like I might completely forget like the English language or
Yeah,
these
yeah.
really, really strange stories. Um,
It makes sense. It's your body's in fear, you know? So it's trying to like think of what could go wrong so you could potentially prevent it, which you can't. But you know, you're right now your body's completely free to be as it is. So if it freezes, if it disassociates, just give it time, let it be that way. It's okay.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
nothing wrong with it. You don't have to say anything, you don't have to appear a certain way. It's also okay if you say something.
I just really appreciate that because I don't feel that in any other setting that I'm a part of. Um, and especially, I'm actually a therapist, which is a whole other, that's a whole other path that at some point I want to talk through. But I have a ton of internal narrative, a ton of feeling that comes up when I'm with my clients. Because I feel like I'm in this position of being the quote unquote expert, which is not true. Um, and I have to lead them, I have to guide them. Like there's no room to have a moment of embarrassment or a moment of, you know, forgetting dissociation or forgetting where I want to go. Um, so yeah, I find that I'm anxious most of the day. And just tired, like just really, really tired of like needing to show up in a particular way so that I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There's probably a lot of worry. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think your clients also probably don't know what's going on there. So when you do have stuff arising when you're in front of someone,
Mm-hmm.
let yourself fully feel it
Yeah.
and take your time. There's
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
better to prioritize yourself because ultimately you'll be better at what you do if you do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I know that's true because there have been moments where, you know, there's like a silence that my mind says goes on too long. And I'll try to fill in the blank with something that's just it's not fully formed in my mind, or it doesn't actually feel true. And then I walk away just feeling like something was off, you know, like that wasn't right. Um,
I've done that a
and
million times, just so you know.
it's so comforting. Okay. Yeah. Just like filling in.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, sometimes the body is just really tired, or there's an impulse arises to do that. And
hmm
yeah, you can sense like, okay, maybe that wasn't necessary, but
yeah.
there's no real reason to like harshly judge yourself. It just makes sense. Like, that's how the body functions sometimes.
hmm hmm Yeah. It's just helpful to hear that.
There's no such thing as perfection. Like, you have to meet yourself exactly where you are and know that that
Yeah.
is good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, mistakes aren't a bad thing.
Mm. Yeah, I think I'm tired too of like just wanting things to be a certain way.
Mm.
You know, like wanting a session to go in a certain direction, or, you know, a life circumstance. It's like in my head, I want it to go a certain way. I know how it should go. It's like, nope, this so out of so out of control, or so out of my control, personal control. Um, and I'm looking at the time. Since
It's
this is
okay.
my first, are you
It's
sure?
okay. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. You can just tell me when we're at ending time. Um, but that's something too within the therapy space I'm really struggling with. Like, I feel like I'm in between the world of like self-help still, and the more conventional modalities, and then this world of non-duality. And
Yeah.
it's it is literally like, I know I'm going to find my way, but right now it feels like a total mind fuck. Like, it's I'm so confused a lot of the time.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
It is very kind of the opposite a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Is your therapy like just talk therapy, or it's kind of somatic?
So it is primarily talk therapy. That's what I was trained in, marriage and family therapy. But just given my own personal journey with moving into the body more, and learning about somatics, I do incorporate that into my sessions, but I'm not trained in it. So it's just something I kind of bring in just from
Nice.
my own. Yeah. experience. Because I'm really learning, like the talking, it's helpful. I think we need to talk, like that's how we express ourselves and that's how we connect on a certain level. But it only takes you so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that you could almost keep it kind of uh, you don't have to incorporate all of this into the sessions. That's not the purpose of it, and your clients probably know that that's not the purpose of it. They're wanting some improvement in their lives, or maybe they have some sort of goal that they have in mind, or they just want a space to speak. Who knows what the motive is?
Yeah.
It's probably going to be different, and so you just meet them where they are.
Yes.
And then it'll evolve on its own.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's what you're saying is spot on. And I need to remind myself of what you're saying, because it's so easy to get caught up in, like, well, I'm a marriage and family therapist, and that means I incorporate, certain modalities, or I come from a certain training background. And that's not helpful. Like being in that box, it's, I just like, I keep hitting up against something. And yeah, it's just not helpful. And I'm kind of moving towards, or I'd like to move towards being in a space of whatever's here is here. Like, I'm going to respond in a way that works in the moment. Like, I don't know how else to do it.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, it comes down to that. Just be simple.
Yes.
And stop trying to use these tools thinking that it'll be better. It'll just come to you if it's needed. If it's not, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's fine that you learned all of that stuff, but ultimately it's about you, what you feel like is most appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No one else is doing this job for you. It's you. And you have to go with what feels best for you, what feels most true for you. That's it.
Yeah. There are so many voices out there. Like, just the amount of material and voices that sometimes feel contradictory. And that's why I have to come back to, what what resonates for me, like where am I being pulled, and just trust that. Yeah.
Exactly. And you're allowed mistakes. Like, how can you be what is perfection, for one? And
Thank you for also just being so human, and just for allowing whatever to come up. I'm still definitely in my head a bit, but um, I certainly feel like this is a space where, like, I'm just showing up and I'm just going to try to continue to be here, regardless of whether English comes out or maybe another gibberish will come out one day. Oh, well.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, you did great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's really not easy in these. I used to freeze as well. I just allowed myself to freeze. It was just like, whatever. I can't control this.
Yeah. It's really helpful to hear.
Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing. It's
Thank
like
you.
I hear that often, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it is confusing hearing this kind of stuff and
Yeah.
having all that training say something completely different.
Yes.
Um, Sometimes it's good to know that they don't know either. Like these people who are telling you how to do that stuff. You can take some of the stuff and if it works for you, great. But
Yeah.
to mimic and copy someone, ultimately it never works out because you're just going to be separating yourself and trying to be something other than you're not. And it's going to take a lot more energy.
Yes.
And so the difficulty of really trusting what's here is that you're
Mm-hmm.
going to have those voices of like, no, you could be better. You should have done it like this. How about this? And it could have been perfect somehow. But yeah, just know that that's clutter. And
Yeah.
this is always so much simpler
Mm-hmm.
than we make it out to be.
Mm-hmm.
You're fully capable of being there for people, meeting them where they are.
Yeah. The clutter that sometimes often shows up after a session or even just an interaction with a friend. So there's always a way I could have done it differently.
I know.
Always.
I know.
And that comes up after the fact. Like, but it didn't go that way. Like, just drop it, you know? But it just doesn't want to drop it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay too. Like, I can just let that be there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I mean, now it's conditioned, you know. We're
Yeah.
conditioned to second guess and to
Yeah.
go elsewhere and not trust that we will learn exactly what we need to learn
Yeah. Mm.
and do it your style.
It's just nice to not have to fill the blank in. There's a part of me that's like, hey, just end it, say thank you, and
Yeah. Yeah.
But in all honesty, thank you. Thank
Mhm.
you for that was really helpful. And I do hope to, there's like 3 different thought tracks that are happening, and I want to go down them at another point. And I think I'll save them
Yeah.
for next time.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much. It was really nice to meet you.
Thank you. So good to meet you too, and actually chat with you.
Mm. All righty, everybody. Yeah, thanks for interacting, everyone. It's lovely to see you. Bye-bye. Have a nice Sunday.